The Perseverance rover still continues to explore Mars with the hope of uncovering some evidence that will show the existence of life on the planet. It has been slightly over a year since it landed, and so far it has made some very interesting discoveries on the planet. In addition to that, the Perseverance rover is also collecting some samples on Mars that will soon be sent back to Earth for further experimentation. Most recently, the Perseverance rover stumbled upon what seems to be an ancient UFO landing site on the planet. But how can that be? Can it mean that aliens do exist and they are flying around? Hey there guys, and welcome back to our channel Mars Discovery. In today's video, we will look into Perseverance rover's ancient UFO landing site discovery on Mars. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for more Mars-related content. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. At first glance, it seemed like it was a flying saucer that crashed on Mars, maybe from an early war between aliens, but sadly enough, it does not belong to aliens, but rather to us humans. NASA's Ingenuity helicopter, which is the first ever to fly on another planet, recently sent back some fascinating photos of the red planet. The pictures that it sent back showed what was actually the debris from its landing aboard the Perseverance rover back in February 2021. According to the space agency, NASA, this is the debris that allowed the safe descent of the rover, and it could, in fact, contain some useful insights for future missions. The wreckage from NASA is now called the back shell. Ian Clark, one of the engineers who worked on Perseverance's parachute system, talked about these photographs, saying, "There's definitely a sci-fi element to it. It exudes otherworldly, doesn't it?" After spending a year roving around the crater that it landed in, as it explored the rocks, the Perseverance rover eventually passed near its original landing site, as it headed to the river delta that once flowed along the western rim of the crater. As it moves along, the rover's small robotic companion, the helicopter Ingenuity, continues to tag along as it awaits its time. Ingenuity conducted its 26th flight recently, which lasted for about 159 seconds and covered 1,181 feet. As it was carrying out its flight, it managed to take up to 10 pictures, all of which show the back shell, which is more like the top half of the landing capsule. This part was the one that protected Perseverance and Ingenuity as they both flew down through the Martian atmosphere. Still attached to this is the parachute, which was about 70 feet wide and helped slow down the descent of the rover. The scientists refer to the entry, descent, and landing on Mars as the 7 minutes of terror. This is because it was extremely stressful, not just for them, but even for the rovers themselves. The rovers were under stress mainly because of the high temperatures and other extremes that come with the landing. But now, with the new highly detailed images, the scientists now have a chance to improve on the future landings of spacecrafts on Mars. This includes the Mars Sample Return Lander, which is a mission that promises to bring back the samples collected on the planet to Earth for further study. The Mars Sample Return mission will require 2 spacecraft to land on the surface. One is a rover that will collect the samples that are being drilled and collected by the Perseverance rover, while the second one is a small rocket that will launch the samples into orbit so that they can be picked up by another spacecraft, which will bring them back to Earth. As the rover was landing, the parachute and the back shell detached from it when it was at an altitude of about 1.3 miles. For the rest of the way down, the rover was supported by a rocket system known as Sky Crane. As this happened, the back shell and parachute were making their landing about a mile away to the northwest of the rover. The back shell, which is about 15 feet wide in diameter, reached the ground at a speed of about 78 miles per hour, causing it to shatter partially. But apart from that, everything else seems to be okay, with no apparent signs of charring. The parachute and the suspension lines that connect the parachute to the back shell all seem to be intact. But even with everything seeming fine, engineers have already started scrutinizing these new images in detail. Mr. Clark said, "They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but it's also worth an infinite amount of engineering understanding." According to Mr. Clark, the images are a great way to verify that the models and analysis worked. It will also add to the confidence in building future models. The mission's project scientist, Kenneth Farley, was fascinated mainly by the truly spectacular images of the hardware. Not only that, but what fascinated him even more was what the hardware landed on. Dr. Farley commented on this saying, Remarkably, this wreckage wound up right on the contact between the two rock formations on the crater floor. These two formations, which are referred to as Seta and Maz, each consist of volcanic rocks. However, they are not rocks of the same composition. Seta is rich in olivine that settled out of thick magma, most likely from a lava lake, but Maz, which seems to be on top, which can only show that it is younger, has a composition that is similar to most of the basaltic lava flows. This layer is full of minerals known as pyroxene and plagioclase, but with very little to no olivine. These two formations meet at a line of rocks that runs from the backshell to an area that is just after the parachute. We want to know how these rocks may be related to each other, said Dr. Farley. Ingenuity's 26th flight was carried out on April 19, 2022, just a year after its first official flight on the Red Planet. While it was still young, researchers were unsure how long the $85 million drone would survive on Mars. Each successful flight was called for a celebration, as it was a major milestone. This time, the helicopter went up to as high as 26 feet, flying around for 159 seconds as it captured the intriguing images. Harvard Grip, the chief pilot of Ingenuity at JPL, said, "To get the shots we need, Ingenuity did a lot of maneuvering, but we were confident because there were complicated maneuvering on flights 10, 12, and 13. Our landing spot set us up nicely to image an area of interest for the Perseverance science team on Flight 27 near Seta Ridge." So far, ever since Ingenuity made its first flight, it has logged over 49 minutes of flight time. This is having traveled a total of roughly 3.9 miles. However, together with the helicopter, the rover is now headed to a new area of operations, which is over Jezero Crater's dry river delta. However, this part is filled with uneven cliffs, boulders, and angled surfaces. This marks a massive departure from the relatively flat terrain that it has traversed in earlier flights. Right now, researchers can only hope that the helicopter will manage to survey the delta. This is important because in addition to making some new discoveries, this expedition will also help the scientists map a path that Perseverance can use to climb all the way to the top. Additionally, it could also help the team identify potential targets for scientific exploration. This is still in line with the rover's main mission to find evidence of ancient life on Mars. As Perseverance continues its quest to find ancient life, we can only hope that it will survive. It has made some pretty interesting discoveries, such as capturing an image of the small Martian moon Phobos. And it still continues to make more and more discoveries. Feel free to let us know what you think about the Perseverance rover's discoveries and its sidekick Ingenuity. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel Mars Discovery and hit the bell icon for more intriguing content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.